Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everybody, to It's Doomsday podcast. Joining me today is the local prepper.
Again.
Proudly Black. And we're bringing you another Grid Down episode. It's exciting. I love that name. I'm glad you came up with it.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, I think
yes, I did.
Yes, you did. The grid is down. Here we go. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about guns and protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in all honesty, this is something that we could probably talk about every episode. Like I've talked about guns so much on the show over the years. I don't think it'll ever be a topic that's not exciting to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's kind of the way I think. So since you picked the topic, I'm going to let you jump off first, man. Go for it.
Oh, no. The pressure. It's so heavy.
Is it?
Well, I picked the topic because I don't get to talk about it enough because I'm more on the YouTube thing. And now that I'm doing more of the pod stuff with you, it's like more open. Like I can talk about things a little bit more. I don't really talk about firearms very often because it's kind of like, nobody really does it. If you turn into a gun tuber, then your channel gets squashed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I picked that subject because I think that there's a lot to be thought about, for lack of better words, American firearms, guns, in the preparedness space that people just don't talk about. It's like, well, you got to have this one. You got to have that one. Me personally, I tell people all the time, I'm a Glock guy for handguns. I'm a Mossberg guy for shotguns, and I'm an AK guy for the boom boom stick that stops things. And believe it or not, I'm a 22 guy because everybody needs a good varmint gun. But what are we really like using them for? Everybody's like, well, I'm going to use my shotgun in my house. And, they all have this preconceived notion of things. They never break it down. The way I do it is I have it broken into like home defense, and then like patrol or perimeter security type thoughts, and then hunting / food procurement. And then your firearms just kind of fit automatically, just slip into those blocks.
Right.
And so I think if people go about it that way and think about it in those three pillars, for lack of better words, then they can really guide them into the firearms that they're going to purchase instead of buying something that and I don't want to talk about buying stuff. I just want to talk about how we would use it. That it's going to keep them from making mistakes. So
right. So I got some comments on some things you just said.
Okay.
All right.
Let me put my leather skin on. All right, I'm ready.
All right, there you go. So first things first, I'm in agreement with you for the most part. I mean, when it comes to handguns, I love my Glocks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The only caveat to that is I also really like my revolvers. And if I'm getting a revolver, I'm getting a Smith & Wesson.
Yep.
All right. That's
agreed.
that's it. Okay. And my father had recently went out and got the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. And I've actually trained on this firearm. I do like it. I don't hate it, but I'd still rather have my Glock.
Okay.
I've done more training with the Glock than any other firearm, both the Glock 17 and the Glock 22. So my range scores are pretty high with both the 9mm and the 40.
Mm-hmm.
So I really have fallen in love with the Glocks over the years. Now, when it comes to shotguns, it's really hard to beat a Mossberg. I talk to a lot of guys that love Remington 870s and stuff, and I've trained on the Remington 870s. They're okay, but to me, the Mossberg is the way to go. All right,
100%.
You get a Mossberg 500, rock and roll, baby. You're
Yes,
fine.
it's the best shotgun ever made. Not a joke.
I have a Mossberg TAC 500, and I absolutely love that shotgun. I've had it for coming up, I think, on 20 years, and I love that shotgun. When it comes to, you're talking about things like, the ARs, the AKs, things like that. I prefer an AR-15 hands down all day over the AK-47. I've owned both. I find the AR-15 to have way more accuracy, and you do have these guys that are really good with the 7.62 though. There's guys that'll tell you I could reach out and touch 300 meters with that thing, no problem, and I have more knockdown power than you. That may be true, but it's because you've trained on that platform. Okay. When I got into the semi-automatic rifles, I owned both. I had a Romanian Wasser 10 AK-47, and it was okay. And then I got my first AR-15 that was a Sig Sauer M400 SWAT. And I absolutely loved that gun. Okay, it was fantastic. The wife loved it. She would shoot it 500 yards. She would be on target, no problem, with iron sights. I ended up getting rid of the M400 because after a while, I didn't like the gas impingement operating system. I like the gas piston operating system better. So I upgraded to the Sig Sauer 516. And that's what I currently have now. And I absolutely love the platform. And I will not run scopes on these. Okay.
Yeah.
But the other thing you mentioned, as far as like home defense with a shotgun, anybody that has this mentality of home defense with a shotgun, you're stupid. Stop it. Stop it. Do not get a shotgun for home defense. Do not do it. Okay. It is big. It is bulky. That barrel will come out around a corner before you do. And if you have a criminal breaking into your house, he's probably done this before. He probably has a history of this. And anybody that's willing to break into a house in the middle of the night is one bad dude, or they're not mentally stable, and they might just simply take that from you and use it against you. All right. Now, for home defense, everybody says, well, it's for my wife. She's very inexperienced. It has a widespread pattern, blah, blah, blah. Well, if she's inexperienced, why do you want her walking through the house with this big, heavy long gun that's going to get taken from her? At least if she's walking through the house with a pistol, she can keep it close to her body, keep it in her workspace. And if a guy comes at her, she has a couple extra feet to pull away and use it. All right. And she can cut a corner in a house. We talk about slicing the pie in tactical training situations where you don't come around the corner, you come out wide. That way you don't get ambushed on the edge of that corner, this, that, the other. You can't do that in close quarter combat in a house, entering, a bathroom door, coming out of a bedroom. You don't have that option with inside your home.
Yeah.
So hands down, pistols are better. Now, for those idiots out there that say, well, my wife's, she's kind of weak. I'm worried about her limp wristing this 9mm and it not cycling and jamming. Okay. Buy a fucking revolver. The end. Get her a 38 special, call it a day. That's what you need. All right. And if you're worried about the hammer cock, you get the double action, or single action where you just pull I can't remember if it's double or single, but I have both. One's where you cock the hammer, and one's that there is no hammer and it just rotates and rolls.
Yes.
But in my opinion, if you're inexperienced, get the revolver for home defense. It's a much, much better option. Okay. In regards to the 22, absolute favorite, best caliber to stock for the apocalypse is the 22. You're talking a very cheap round to stock. Anywhere from, it used to be, I don't know what it is in today's market, but it used to be about 5 to 10 cents a round to stock. Okay. So you're talking stocking a shit ton of ammo at a very, very cheap price. And the beauty in that is, LP, how you mentioned the varmint control. This is also a great grocery getter firearm as well. Because if you're talking about needing to add proteins to things, if you're out popping squirrels and rabbits to add to stews, you're going to have a lot more meat as opposed to taking them out with a damn 12 gauge. All right. So this is also great. And the 22 is a very versatile firearm. The amount of platforms this comes in is wide. It varies so much. I have bolt action 22 rifles. I have semi-automatic 22 rifles. I have 22 revolvers. I have 22 semi-automatic pistols. So there's a platform for every scenario, you know? So the idea of having this one round that you could stock in multiple different little weapons platforms for different purposes is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like I'm sorry, I'm going crazy here. This is great. I love the guns. I love the guns, man.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
Okay, I'll have a
Well,
sip of coffee.
you know, one of the things that a lot of people don't really, it's like they don't back up and catch perspective on things, specifically with the 22, is if you look at all of the, I'm using my quote fingers, survival rifles, 99% of them are 22s. There are some fancier ones out there, like over-unders, where you could put like a shotgun shell or maybe a 45 long Colt in it, things like that, you know. But the idea behind the survival rifle is that you're able to take game without destroying the carcass. You know, anything over a 22, unless you're hitting it with something like rat shot or something, you know, you're gonna just turn. You might as well just smash up the carcass of the squirrel you just took, you know, and make soup out of him, because you're just going to tear the flesh to nothing. But yeah, almost all survival rifles are made in 22. You know, that there's others out there, but you know, it's just not smart.
Let's get a little bit more into the 22. Okay, so the 22 is a wicked little high speed round. Okay, and I can still carry a 22 sometimes, not all the time, but if I'm wearing something where I'll be imprinting a lot, or I'm like going for a walk and I've got shorts on and I can't carry a 9mm because it's too heavy for what I'm wearing, I'll take my 22 and I'll have people laugh at me for that. But nobody's going to be laughing if they're on the other side of that muzzle and lead's coming down range. Let me start with that. Okay.
Yeah, no one wants to get shot.
Secondly, it's widely believed that the mob would use this round for a lot of hits because of bullet fragmentation. It was very hard to trace back. Okay. And it did its job. The other thing about the 22 is you have to put yourself into these perspectives of the apocalypse and what rounds are valuable for what things. I've read a lot of material on, you know, apocalyptic situations over the years, a lot of literature that suggests that one of the plagued things we're going to have in the apocalypse, one thing that's going to be a huge problem, are wild roaming packs of dogs. Because people are going to quickly realize, oh, it's the apocalypse. I can't feed my dog. I'm going to let it go and fend for himself. And these dogs are going to group together and they're going to become extremely feral, and they're going to breed more feral dogs that have no training, no distemperament shots. And eventually you're going to have rogue packs of labradoodles roaming around, attacking you and tearing shit up. And I don't want to waste good defensive rounds if I find myself in a really bad situation. Yeah. I would rather dispatch these animals with a 22 as opposed to the 30-06 or the 5.56. I'd rather save that for things I need it, because I'm not going to go deer hunting with a 22. I'm not saying you couldn't. If you have a well-placed shot, it's going to do its job, because if you put a hole in a deer's heart with a 22, it's going to die. Yeah. All right. But on the same token, I know that if I'm throwing a 30 caliber bullet down range, like, you know, like a 30-06 or something bigger, I'm more likely to take that deer down. So there you go. The idea of dispatching varmint, how you mentioned in the beginning, like, let's not forget there's going to be new problems that exist, and you might find yourself burning up more ammo dealing with things like feral cats, wild dogs. Maybe the coyote population has grown in your area more, you know? Yeah. So there you go.
Oh yeah, most definitely too. You know, and a lot of people forget you can actually like buy rat shot. You know, for 22s, little blue tips. I love that. I used to keep a 22 revolver on me whenever I mowed the property, because I ran into at least one snake every time. And you know, you don't let rattlers live. You just don't do it. It's not smart.
Right. So it's interesting you bring that up, because I have, I carry, there's two different guns I carry if I'm going out to like do woods work or going hiking. One of those is a Smith & Wesson Governor that's chambered in 45 long Colt, 45 ACP, and 410 shotgun.
Yep.
And the primary reason for carrying this is the bear and the snake. So I have the round staggered in there. I have a 410 shot that has discs and BBs if I encounter a snake. And then I have the 45 long Colt in there that is basically like a critical defense round for the bears.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, this gun is extremely heavy to carry. If I'm doing work around here and I'm not going on a 10-mile hike, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I had recently went out and bought a new handgun, and it's chambered in 44 mag, and it is the world's lightest 44 Magnum you can buy on the market. It's made by Smith & Wesson. It's like I think it's like the Smith & Wesson 340 PD, I think is what it is. And it's made with an alloy called like scandium, and it is extremely light. And I have the same thing, the blue tip shot rounds in there for the snakes. And then I have the 44 Magnum defensive rounds. And when you go out and you target practice with this thing, you shoot about 5 shots and you're done. You don't want to shoot anymore. It's got really wicked recoil. It's really bad. But those blue tip shot rounds in there, not too much recoil. It's manageable. In the event of the snakes, like, I'm not stocking a ton of these rounds for the apocalypse, but I am stocking up on some of those for, the idea of hiking and things I might encounter. But the point is, different weapon platforms for different scenarios, different ammunition for different scenarios. It's all scenario based.
Yes, absolutely.
Why'd you get silent on me? Are you cooking?
I was
something
like,
up
awkward silence. Awkward silence. Well, it's I 100% agree. 100% agree. But there's going to be people that are going to be listening to us that live in a state where, like, oh, by the way, there's like some serious firearm restrictions now, and it's like, so now I hate to say this, I personally don't like them. I think they're cool. My son just bought one, but basically like a lever action rifle. And they come in all calibers basically, but it's, I want to say it's like the Henry X or maybe a Marlin 1895. It's basically, it's like a 4570. It's a Henry Long Ranger, or even a 6. I don't think I think you can get them in 6.5 Creedmoor, but basically a lever action rifle, which is hilarious because you can still push a whole buttload of bullets up inside that thing.
Well, it's funny. I don't own any lever action rifles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's not because I never wanted one. I just never found one that piqued my interest. All right. Growing up, everybody was hunting with a 30-30.
Yeah.
All right. And they talked about, oh, it's a great brush gun, and you can take this thing and you can beat the crap out of it, and it'll do it for shooting, blah, 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 blah. And I'd have all these hillbillies talk to me about why I needed to get a 30-30. And it never really piqued my interest. And I always figured if I got one, because it's like, why? I've got a 243, I've got a 270. I'm not a fan of the 30-06. I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
My preferred deer rifles are the 270 and the 243. And it's because I want to go out and enjoy my hunt, not have a rifle beat the shit out of me. All right. I don't like getting popped in the nose when I'm shaking, getting ready to shoot at a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fun. Okay. So I don't prefer to carry the larger calibers. And I've always said to myself, like, eventually I will get a nice lever action, but I got to find that caliber that I want, find that platform I want. They have started making tactical lever action rifles with Picatinny rails and all these things on them. And I'm like, I think it's a little bit, it's kind of like gaslighting this rifle, in my opinion, to make it cooler than what it actually is. It's not that
how can we sell more of these rifles? Let's make them tactical.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, nah, if I got a lever action, I want like some nice gray wood grain stock, like a nice nickel plated barrel. Like, I want it to look fancy.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the gun, like, I take on, like, if I ever get the opportunity to go do like fancy hunts, I want to take the fancy hunt gun, and I want like a fancy gun caliber,
Yeah.
That would be my take on the lever action.
Yeah.
And I don't hunt enough anymore to justify the purchase of another rifle. I don't.
I just keep buying handguns.
I just keep buying handguns and no rifles anymore. Well, the latest rifle I bought a new 243 because I have a really nice old school BDL Remington 270. Okay, it's beautiful. Back when Remington did like the engravings on the barrels, like, you know, nice wood stock, like it's beautiful, and like I don't want to take it out to beat the shit out of it in the woods. So I was like, let me go get a rifle with a synthetic stock that I could drop in the mud, that I could scratch up going through brush and stuff, and I don't have to worry about it. And that's the new purpose of the 243. So I got like this Savage 243 that came with a scope and whatever, and it's pretty accurate. I'm here for it. It's good. But you did mention something that I did want to tap on a little bit here. Is, you know, the restrictions in some people's areas.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the problem I have with the restrictions on firearms in certain areas is good people abide by these, criminals do not. All right. Good people follow the law. The criminals don't. And because of that, they usually become victims. Okay. And in my opinion, you need to live your life and follow the law. All right. You need to be a law abiding citizen, and you need to not break the law in order to be a good prepper. Okay. Now, say you live in somewhere like California where they have some serious restrictions on ARs as far as not allowing the pistol grip stocks. They don't allow high capacity magazines. These things are not allowed. All right. But I guarantee you there's criminals out there on the streets that have these.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have the magazine capacity that they do, just because you don't have a pistol grip, you know what that tells me? It tells me what you need to work on if you are in a state that has restrictions on firearms is you need to work on your proficiency. Okay. You need to be able, if you have a limit to a 10-round mag capacity in your area and the criminal's got 30, you better be able to unload and reload those mags faster than he can unload his 30. And your shot placement needs to be the thing that you're prioritizing the most.
Yeah. Because
if it's taking you 30 rounds to take out a target, there's a fucking problem. And if that criminal over there that has this illegal weapon in his area, he's not taking that to the range to get proficient. He's not going out and taking training courses with that thing. He's not doing it. So by you abiding by the law, you do have the upper hand because you can get more range time. You can get more proficient. You can train more. All right. Than this other person can. So let that be something that sinks in. You know, we won the Revolutionary War with black powder muskets. Okay. Because our guys here were trained. They were doing what they needed to do. Also, we had better camouflage, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, these guys would take these muskets and they would jam down whatever in the barrels that they could. You're talking rocks, glass, nails, whatever, to get a wider spread shot. They were basically shooting shrapnel at the enemy because they found it to be extremely effective. All right. The reason I'm bringing this up is because these guys became very proficient. When a lot of these guys were being picked out for war, and a lot of people don't know these little details about U.S. history, you had to have all your front teeth. Okay, that was a thing you had to have to go fight in this war because they pre-packaged your shot with your wad and your ball and your powder, and they pre-packaged it in paper, and they were trained to rip this open with their front teeth. Okay. They would rip it open with their front teeth, dump it down the barrel. They would reload and fire. And you had to be able to do this quickly. That was part of how they trained. And if you didn't have your front teeth, you would try to tear this with your back teeth. You would get powder in your mouth and you would instantaneously start to vomit. And what good are you on the front lines if you're vomiting while being shot at?
Yeah.
Okay. So little things like that, they discovered in proficiency, and you could do the same thing and become more proficient just by going to the range and training with these weapons that do have some restrictions based on your area.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like any other tool. You know, you need to know how to use it. It's that easy. You know, everybody's under this assumption that, hey, well, if I want to hammer a nail, I'm going to go get a nail. I'm going to get a hammer. I'm going to bang it in. And 3 nails later, they're all bent up because you haven't hammered a nail since you were a kid with your plastic toys. You know, you definitely need to. You know, I'm not saying go to the range every week. I mean, if you want to, go ahead. But you know, I hear what you're saying because you should be proficient at these tools. And, we could have the conversation about, the responsibilities of an armed citizen. These are responsibilities that we should be taking, that we should be, bettering ourselves with. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that don't do that. They just like shiny things.
Right, exactly. And it goes, I've had a lot of instructors over the years tell me different things about firearms training. And the one common theme here that I always hear from every single instructor is practice, 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 go to the range, make the time, practice, 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 right? And some instructors will literally tell you, I want you to go home, unload your firearm, and practice your drawing technique. I want you to, in front of the mirror, I want you to draw that firearm 100 times a day, okay? Just draw it out of the holster 100 times a day so you can develop that muscle memory of where that release is located on that holster, how to get that gun out quickly, because when you need it, you're going to need it and you don't want to fumble it, all right? I've literally seen inexperienced people on the firing line draw their weapon and it goes flying out of their hand, okay?
Yep.
Because these people are not proficient. I've also had other instructors say, I want you to draw that, cock it, and dry fire it 100 times tonight. Okay, do that. And then again, you've got these guys, I want you to go home and practice rack, tap, bang, go home, do that 100 times tonight. So you could learn how to clear jams and get proficient at it and have it become muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things just go back to the same thing. You have to learn these platforms. You have to get proficient. You have to develop muscle memory, because you could have the biggest arsenal on the planet. But if you're not good with it and you don't know how to use it, somebody's going to take you out. And then you know what they're going to have? The biggest arsenal on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
That's it.
To wrap back around, it's like you were talking about the guy that has the firearm that frickin', it does everything. And you're stuck with the California version of it where you can only carry like 1.5 rounds.
Right.
And so just if you're better than him, if you can get the jump on him, then, he just do what he planned to do to you. Take his shit.
The next restriction coming to California is you have to stagger your rounds, 1 blank, 1 live.
I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Your first shot has to be a blank, so they have a warning shot. Yeah. That's going to be the new restriction. You have to fire 1 blank first.
That's hilarious.
And it's wild to me. We live in a country where, and a lot of people I guess they don't realize this, but when you go to other countries around the world, other countries are the size of our states. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're living in this giant nation with all these individual states that are the size of other people's countries, and they all have their different restrictions. All right. Mm-hmm. And we're just kind of free to move about them in the US. And like what you guys got to understand in the realm of firearms, every time you cross a state line, there are different rules, different restrictions. Everything's different. Okay. So if you're trying to think how I want to word this, if you say to yourself, oh, I have a buddy that lives in California and he's coming out to shoot, don't be weirded out when he shows up with things that are foreign to you. Same thing if you have somebody coming from New York. Okay. Part of being good at the firearms is how LP was talking about, responsibilities, also the knowledge of what these restrictions are, what you can and you can't have, utilizing the tools that are available in your local jurisdictions,
Yeah.
I have a friend he's got a felony and he's not allowed to own firearms. Okay.
Yeah.
But through a lot of research, he found out what he can have is a black powder pistol. All right.
Uh-huh.
Apparently for him and in his jurisdiction where he lives, apparently that's okay. All right. And he specifically wanted this black powder pistol. So he had some sort of self-defense on his boat when he's traveling the rivers of the US. And it's like, is that important?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so, we're having this conversation. I'm like, I don't know, dude, because you're going to be crossing state lines and you're on the water and you're talking about maritime law. Like, this is all different. Mm-hmm. So just because you discovered you could have a black powder pistol at home as a felon to protect yourself, I don't know if that same rule applies on your boat. I don't know if that same rule applies in other states. You really need to you really need to do your research and homework on that. And that's what you all that are listening to the show need to do. You need to do your research and your homework.
Yep. Either that or just buy a burner.
Buy a what?
A burner.
What's a burner?
You don't know what a burner is? Oh my God.
What's a burner?
Burra's a gun that's not a gun.
Burra's a gun that's not a gun.
Yeah. It's like it's almost like a paintball gun. It's like got CO2 cartridges.
Okay.
And but it fires these balls that are either like they're kinetic. If you were to fire a burner at a steel plate at 50 yards, hit it, it would bounce back and come back at you at half speed. It's so fast. If you get shot by one of these things, I want to say, what is it? So it hits you at like 94 newtons. It's so powerful.
Really?
But then they scaled it up, and they're like, well, what if we put like some kind of chemical inside of this paintball? And so not only do you get hit with the 94 newtons, but you also get hit with like the equivalent of pepper spray, basically.
Right. So I have seen the pepper ball guns. I have seen those.
Yes.
And I guarantee you a lot of you have probably seen these. If you ever watched Dog the Bounty Hunter, that's what those guys would carry.
Mm-hmm.
So if you thought they were just running around with paintball guns, like, no, they had pepper balls in there. They had 68 caliber pepper balls in those paintball guns that they carried around. And there are different companies out there that actually produce the pepper ball guns now. I think Saber might have one.
Yeah.
And then you can just flat out order the pepper balls and put those into pretty much, if you get the 68 caliber ones, you can put them in any like old school style paintball gun. And they now have, and I don't know if you've seen these, they now have paintball trip mines that you can load those things up with. I don't know if it's legal, but check your local laws and jurisdictions before listening to what we say on this show.
Yeah, exactly. Well, burners allowed in all 50 states.
Burna. B-R-U-N-A?
I think it's B-Y-R-N-A. B-Y-R-N-A. Burna.
Oh,
yeah.
I found it. Okay.
Yeah.
60 feet of range, legal in all 50 states, 30 minutes of incapacitation, 0 permits required.
Yeah.
I kind of want one of these.
Well, they're pretty cool. I have one myself.
Oh, man.
Yeah, instead of shit, Virginia gun laws is a little weird. But like I said, if somebody comes through the door and I decide to shoot them, they're going to have a bad day. If you hit somebody in the head with one of these things, they're going to have a bad day.
Oh, yeah. The muzzle velocity on these things is intense.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to get shot with one of these things. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I might seriously consider getting one of these. And the reason I'm kind of wanting one of these, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, is I do not like to be disarmed while traveling around. Okay. Yep. And this would kind of check all those boxes because I'm always going through different states and I'm like, okay, if I'm in this state, I got to have it in a lockbox. I got to have it out of reach. I got to have it within wherever. But this kind of checks the boxes to where you don't have to worry about all that shit because it's not a firearm.
Correct. Yeah. So, they make holsters for them. So
yeah, there you go.
And they are bulky, but yeah.
And I'm also kind of wondering, because it's not considered a firearm, could you open carry this thing pretty much anywhere?
Oh, yeah. The only thing you'd have to watch out for, especially in North Carolina, is like, what is it? Going armed to the fear of the public or something like that? I can't remember.
There's, I'm trying to think exactly how it's worded, but North Carolina is an open carry state.
Yeah.
But local law enforcement can jurisdict different things within different cities and communities. And if they believe that you are causing the public to basically be uncomfortable, they can ask you to put it up.
Yeah.
So when I'm going to certain
about that.
Right. So when I go to certain cities like that, I just conceal.
Yeah.
That's just what I do. I have a license. I can do that. It's fine. And if nobody sees it, nobody can question it. And then nobody's going to say anything.
Yep.
Perfect. Anyway, that's about all the time we have for today on this lovely grid down episode of Guns. I like it. If you haven't already, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the show. LP, you got anything else?
That's make sure you follow the Local Prepper Project. You can find me on pretty much all of the platforms, and yeah, that's about it.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.